Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. You are listening to the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Today's topic is all about how to start and even begin the process of becoming gluten-free. This is probably one of the most stressful things that a lot of my patients are like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do that. There's nothing to eat. And in fact, if you follow me on Instagram at all, you will see that I eat a lot of really yummy food. There is no lack of food. I never feel like there is nothing to eat. I truly have never felt that way before. And I have been gluten-free now for 13 years. And I'll have to tell you that the majority of my patients who have any sort of either autoimmune issue, thyroid problems, weight loss issues, inflammatory, issues happening with elevated sedimentation rates, elevated CRPs, which are both markers in the blood that show inflammation. I have them get off gluten. And it is probably one of the most sort of heart-wrenching things that my patients feel initially, like, how are they going to do this? How can I actually be gluten-free? Like, I'm not going to be able to eat anything. There's nothing to eat. And if you are following me or have been at all following me on Instagram, I do have a tab there that says food. So if you just take a look at that, you will see all the things that I create in my kitchen. And initially, that was never a thought of mine. I was just so desperately trying to get out of the major flare that I was in 13 years ago, and lupus flare, by the way. And gluten was one of the very first changes that I made in my diet. And let me tell you that it changed my friggin' life. It changed it to the point where from like 1 week to the next, all of my joint pain, the redness, the swelling had gone down substantially to almost nothing. And that is when I became a true believer in how gluten can affect your body in so many different ways. So today, I'm just going to give you some really quick points on how do you start? Like, where do you begin? How do I do this? How can I actually eat anything? And does everything taste like cardboard? And it does not. Absolutely not. But what it will do, not only will it help like change the trajectory of how you feel and your health, but it also will almost slightly force you to eat healthier. I mean, the things that contain gluten. Okay, let me just break this down a little bit. Anything that contains white or wheat flour has gluten in it. Okay, so white bread, rye bread, any sort of bread, sourdough, rye, obviously white bread, just regular like Wonder Bread. I don't even know. Does that still exist? I don't know. I don't eat any of that. So I don't know what's out there. All I know is, which gluten-free products is like the best. And we'll get to that in a minute. But also, if you're driving or anything right now and you feel like you need to write this down, do not worry, because I will have a link in the show notes where you can access everything and the list of like the best gluten-free foods that I have found in over a decade of me eating gluten-free, and some things to absolutely stay away from. So let's see, gluten-free. So let me go back. So anything with white flour contains gluten. Anything that says wheat, anything that says barley, okay, that is gluten. Anything that like things like soy sauce that you put in when you eat sushi. Most, or if not the majority of sushi places have gluten-free soy sauce. They may not have it on the table, but they do have it in the back. So all you have to do is ask for it. Also, they do sell, and which, let me tell you, it's called tamari, and they have it at Whole Foods. They have it in the majority of supermarkets out there. But let's just say you cannot find it. You can go on Amazon and purchase them. And you can actually purchase the tamari little packets that you would see from like Chinese food stores or delivery. You know, the little soy sauce packets that you get. Well, they come in gluten-free, and you can certainly carry your own little packets. If sushi is your thing, then just make sure you've got a couple of packets on hand. No big deal. Nobody cares if you pull them out and put it into those like little dishes and eat your sushi. I mean, no one's going to stop you, but most places will have a bottle of gluten-free soy sauce on hand because they know that people with gluten-free sensitivities or allergies or celiac disease will come in and request it. So let's start out with just replacing some of the things that you currently have in your pantry now. So that means your pastas. Okay, you're just going to switch it out. All you're really going to do is switch it to gluten-free pasta. And I'm going to tell you which ones are the best. Okay, so do not worry about that. And breads. It's not going to be, I mean, look, there's sliced breads, there's baguettes, there are buns out there. Trust me, there's a plethora of things. You will not starve. Okay. You will not. You just can't, because at this point in time, like Trader Joe's has gluten-free raisin bread, bagels, sliced bread, multigrain bread. They've got I have Italian sliced bread, which is actually very, very good. So I just want you to know, it's a matter of substitution. You're not really necessarily giving up pasta, and you're not giving up bread. You are just substituting it for something that's gluten-free. And by now, there hardly are any things that quote unquote taste like cardboard, because trust me, if things tasted like cardboard, I would not be eating it. And if you can look through my food highlight on my Instagram page, you're going to see that I do not eat things that look or taste like cardboard. Trust me on this one. Okay. The other thing too is, like I was saying before, is that it sort of forces you to focus on whole foods, which in turn will help you just be healthier in general. I mean, who wouldn't want, there's no gluten in any vegetable or fruit. There just isn't. So if you mostly eat vegetables and fruit and like lean proteins, you're good. You're good. There's no gluten in any of that stuff. So being like paleo is essentially you're off all gluten. So there's really no problem there. If you are paleo or want to be paleo, you can find loads of cookbooks out there. You can find recipes online. Plethora. Even if you Google gluten-free, I don't even know, dinner recipes, you're going to get them all. So, but if you are like a pasta lover or something like that, and trust me, there's like gluten-free ravioli. It's at Whole Foods. You can find it there. And I'm sure that if you put it on Amazon, they probably have it in there too. So, not to fear, there are gluten-free substitutions for you, like by the boatload. So the other thing too, so most people are like, well, I don't know what to eat. What am I going to eat? What's for breakfast then? I can't have my toast. For lunch, I can't have my sandwich. So I'm going to just explain to you how this works, because I've been doing this for so long. It's like second nature to me now. So when I work a long shift and I work 12 hours at the urgent care, which is sort of like my side gig, I bring my lunch. I do bring my lunch. I cook the night before and I pack up my lunch and dinner, because we're there from 8 to 8, lunch and dinner and all my snacks. because I do not like ordering out because I don't really know how it's cooked. Though there's certainly been times when I've had to order something and I'll get like a chili then, like a meat chili. And that is, there's no gluten in that. And because they wouldn't really put flour in it. And I do ask before I purchase anything. I will get a salad with some type of grilled, chicken or like some steak on there or something like that. So you will not go hungry. There are things out there, trust me. Okay, so let me just give you some examples of like what to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So for breakfast, if you're like into oats, okay, you can find the instant and you can find like the regular oats that you have to kind of like cook up. They both come in gluten-free. So no tragedies there. You can continue having your oats in the morning and you can add fruit to it, whatever you'd like, a little bit of honey or something. That's fine. Nuts in there. You can do all of that still. So no problems there. For those of you that eat eggs, you can still have your eggs. And if you have with toast, just substitute it for gluten-free toast. Not a problem there. You're still having your eggs with toast. And I'm going to tell you which are the best tasting breads, okay, for gluten-free. So do not worry. And that will be in the show notes. And then you can also do like avocado toast for breakfast if you'd like, topped with like an egg. For lunch, like I said, salad with a protein. If you are at home, let's say these days everyone's sort of home, working from home, you can make like they have tortillas that are gluten-free. Okay, so no excuses there saying that there's nothing to eat anything with. They have gluten-free, and I'm going to write down my favorite one, okay, because I've tried a zillion tortillas in my life in the past, at least in the past over a decade. So I'm going to write down which ones are my favorite. And you can easily make a quesadilla. You can do like if it's for breakfast even, like a breakfast quesadilla. All of this is still possible if you're at home and you want to cook something warm. There you go. You can also make that quesadilla and make it for lunch. And you can, if you are off dairy, there's certainly some really great kinds of vegan cheeses that melt fabulously. And I will also include that in the show notes. So you can make that. You can pack your lunch. You can cook whatever you made the night before and pack that and bring that make enough, just make more. Always don't just make one single portion for you. Make portions that'll last you for a couple of days for leftovers for lunch or for dinner the next day. Let's see what else. And also snacks. I don't know about you, but I'm a total snacker. And I have an addiction now to like these banana chips from Trader Joe's. Oh my gosh. There's a couple of different ones. I like them both, but the ones that are a little bit on the sweeter side, that's really my go-to. Like I try to keep it at a minimum, but I buy a couple of bags per week. So that's always like a nice snack for me. I also enjoy nuts, but I don't eat a ton of it. Like I don't eat like half a bag of any kind of nut because you also have to keep in mind it is filled with fat. Even though it's good fat, you don't want to be consuming too many nuts. Like a handful is probably good. It should satiate you for a little bit. Let's see, what else? Fruit. There's nothing wrong with fruit. Berries, pineapple, like cut up, like just make sure these things already come cut up so then you can bring them to work. You can have them as a snack. And then dinner. Okay, so dinner for me is primarily sort of like paleo. There's always some kind of protein. There's a veggie. Or you know what I love? I really love making like mini stir fries. I shouldn't say mini. I'm not going to say it. No, forget the word mini because I make enough to last me through the next day. I will either make up some nice steak or chicken breast or even fish. And I'll make that. And then I'll have like a really nice stir fry that I'll have with like cauliflower rice, mushrooms, corn, string beans, carrots, whatever veggie you may have at home. I'll even chop up some kale and sort of put it in there, in with the stir fry. That is just like my easiest go-to. When it comes to gluten-free, I mean, because it's all veggie, right? I mean, if you wanted a little bit of rice, that's fine too. But also you want to watch if you get these rice, they sell rice in like boxes. I don't really eat that, but, I usually honestly buy, there's like frozen rice that's organic, that's already made from Whole Foods. Has anyone seen this? I just discovered it, and it is such an easy thing to have on hand if I don't feel like making a pot of rice, which, takes some time and whatnot. But if you're kind of in a rush, Whole Foods sells it, frozen white rice. It's organic and it's good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I personally cannot tolerate brown rice. Like my body does not like brown rice. So I don't eat it. And that's also an alternative. And Trader Joe's also has, for those of you that have a Trader Joe's by you, it's a chain. They also have white and brown rice as well. So that's in the frozen aisle. I'm not against that at all. I mean, if it's already sort of made and it's so easy to do, why not? Just do it. They also sell cauliflower rice like everywhere now. So that should be a non-issue. If you don't want to do the carb, I totally get it. Just have the cauliflower rice and just treat that as if it were rice and make up a stir fry. So these are just like simple suggestions. I'm also a really big quesadilla girl. So I will put almost anything in the quesadilla, whatever I'm sort of like really craving. My go-to combo, I don't know about you, it's mushrooms and onions sauteed. Oh my God, with a bunch of different spices. I love it. I'll put it in like one of those gluten-free tortillas. And it's fast. And it's so good and it's filling. For me, it's really filling. And then you can add the vegan cheese in there if you'd like. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I just love it. And look, there's also, salads. Make a side salad, make a fresh one. Like you can certainly buy something already made, but sometimes, I have found them. They're like brown or wilted. The lettuce that you find in a bag or even in like those plastic containers, and if you've ever noticed that the leaves are really like wet and they're like brown, do not eat that, okay? This is what I don't like because those things tend to get stale really fast. What I see a lot is that kale tends to keep for a pretty decent amount of time. And I just love my kale. I also green juice in the morning. And I don't green juice kale or anything green because honestly, I have 2 really big servings of greens per day. Either it goes into a stir fry or I eat it as a side salad. I also make my own dressing. So that's the reason why I don't typically put greens in my juicer to juice it because I really love eating kale salad. And dinosaur lettuce is my preferred kale. It's not the other kind, which I forget what it's called, but it's the dinosaur kale. I just love it. Yeah, and there's a way to remove, you don't want to eat that big old thick stem. I should do a little quick video about like how do you like pull the kale off of the stem? I mean, I think it's pretty simple, but I think a lot of people just don't know. And then they're like, ew, this kale, it's so hard to chew. And maybe it's because you're eating the stem. Don't eat the stem. I mean, you can juice the stems. But I don't know, unless you're making like a soup or something where it'll get really soft. It just doesn't tend to get soft in a salad. You know what I mean? So, and dressing, I make on my own. Honestly, I don't remember the last time I bought like a bottled dressing. because I really love the ones I make at home. It's really simple. Olive oil, lemon or vinegar, and seasonings, salt, whatever seasonings you want in it. And you just mix it, like stir it or shake it in a bottle and pour it onto your salad. Like that's it. When you do make a salad with kale, you want to make sure that you coat the back and the front of the kale with the salad dressing. So then it starts to soften up a little bit. It's typically one of the things that I do first. So it sort of sits there while I'm making dinner. So by the time I'm ready to eat it, it's softened up a bit and all the flavors have kind of melted together in there. So I'm gonna, you know what? I just have an idea. I'm going to do a reel about it, a reel on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, head on over to Margaret Romero. And I'm like really starting to love reels. I need to do one today, actually. And maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will do a quick thing on how to make a quick kale salad. Like my go-to kale salad has cucumbers, kale, and that's it. Actually, that's all I put in it when I make like a really quick one, and I don't want to do too much chopping. And I'm going to show you how to make a really nice dressing on there too, because it's so easy and it's healthy. So if you didn't have time to write this stuff down, I will have it all in the show notes for you. And I hope this helps. I really do. I really hope it helps. It's really important to read labels, anything, because let me tell you, Trader Joe's is great, but there's so many things in there that have gluten in it. Like it'll just say wheat flour all over everything. A lot of their frozen foods tend to have like already made, like these things that look really good that are frozen. I look at the labels and I'm like, oh, wheat flour, can't eat it. And then I just make it on my own anyway. So there's no problems with that. It just kind of gives me an idea like, oh, I can make this. So I really hope this was helpful for you. It is sort of like being gluten-free 101. And as you sort of dive into being gluten-free and make it sort of a lifestyle, which for me it is, I travel with my gluten-free food. I know which restaurants, which chains have gluten-free menus. Outback Steakhouse, P.F. Chang's. There used to be so many bigger chains when I used to live out in Colorado. There was a Italian restaurant, starts with a C. Oh my gosh, I can't remember it. I'll put it in the show notes, and I'll also put down some of these other chains that have gluten-free menus. If you are like, listen, I don't cook, so I need to know where to go. But you know what? Even if you do order out and you do order a salad, there's not going to be gluten in a salad. There's not going to be gluten in a grilled chicken. There will be gluten in, like if you get a fried chicken, there's definitely gluten in that. Sorry, Chick-fil-A. Their buns are not gluten-free, but some pizza places definitely have gluten-free menus and gluten-free pizza. So that's always something, not that I 100% think that you should be living off pizza, but every once in a while, of course, in moderation. I'm all about moderation. We all have to live a little. I love pizza myself, but maybe I have it like once every few months, and I don't feel guilty about it because I hardly eat it. And so I like to indulge in it sometimes. And you know what? That's okay. Okay, so if you have any questions at all about this, or have a food in mind that you're not sure has gluten in it, please feel free to reach out to me. There's also a tab on Instagram in my link tree. When you go into my bio, it'll say in there, ask me a question, and I'll get those questions. So if you don't want to email me, you can always go into there and ask the question, and let's see if I can answer them either personally or I will answer them on a podcast episode. If I get a bunch of different questions, then I will go ahead and do that. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful for you. It is a lifestyle for me, and I am not upset about it. I live a gluten-free life, and I feel like I eat really well. And one last thing, like if you love making chicken cutlets or like I made a fried calamar maybe a month ago, and I just use gluten-free breadcrumbs. I mean, that's everywhere too. If you use breadcrumbs to make like meatballs or chicken cutlets or anything like that, it's there, it's out there. Trust me, you're not going to go without. There's almost every single thing, if not 100% of everything that has gluten in it, there's a gluten-free option for it. So I hope you are well. I hope this helps you. And I hope that if you are suffering from any sort of autoimmune condition, that this will just be like the biggest thing that helps your pain and your fatigue. It's definitely, I'm not saying that it's all about gluten and that once you get rid of that, then everything falls into place. But it is absolutely one of the biggest things that causes inflammation in anyone with autoimmune conditions or anyone with any sort of inflammatory process that's happening. So I wish you well. We will speak next week. Thank you so much for listening. Love to you all. Bye for now.